11:55 p.m. Zahara kissed her husband goodnight. 11:58. She slipped out of bed, silent as a breath. 11:59. The garage door creaked open. Midnight. Always midnight. For 3 weeks, Malik hadn't slept. Not because of the noise, but because of the question that came every night. The woman walking down those stairs. Was she still his wife? Once, they were inseparable. 8 years of laughter, trust, and quiet love. But lately, the air in the house had changed. The faint scent of oil, new scratches on the floor, and her eyes, soft, distant, as if they no longer belonged to the same world. Tonight, he couldn't take it anymore. He rose from bed, heart pounding, and followed. Down the stairs, past the kitchen, toward the steel door that led to the garage. Through the crack beneath the door, he saw a glow, colors shifting, alive. Stay with this story to see what Zahara is hiding in the dark. And if you believe some secrets can change everything, subscribe now so you won't miss what happens next. He didn't open the door that night. He just stood there, watching the light shift under the crack until it faded. When Zahara returned hours later, he pretended to sleep, heart still racing. The next night was the same, and the next. 3 weeks. Every midnight the same. Zahara leaving. The door closing soft as guilt. Malik counting minutes in the dark. He had started keeping track without meaning to. 12:01 a.m. Gone. 2:03 a.m. Back. Not a minute more or less. He told himself there had to be a reason. Maybe she couldn't sleep. Maybe she prayed in private. But then he remembered the way she locked the door. The way she glanced back as if leaving something behind. When she returned, she moved quietly, slipping under the covers and turning away. Her breathing steady, peaceful. Like she had never left. Malik stared at the ceiling, his mind a storm of questions. Was there someone else? Was his marriage, built on trust, now standing on cracks he never saw forming? The thought felt like a splinter under his skin. Small, invisible, impossible to ignore. Outside, the clock ticked toward dawn. Inside, a man tried to breathe through the ache of suspicion. And somewhere beneath that ache, something colder began to grow, the fear that love might not be enough. Morning light spilled into the kitchen. Zahara hummed a tune, soft and warm, as if the night before had never existed. Coffee brewed. Pancakes browned on the stove. Her smile was easy, but her eyes looked tired. Malik sat at the table, pretending calm. The sound of the pan, the smell of breakfast, the shape of ordinary life, all of it felt wrong now. When she placed a cup before him, their hands brushed. Her skin was cold, a chill that didn't belong to morning air. Zahara didn't notice, or maybe she did and chose not to. He wanted to ask. He wanted to tear the silence open, but the words stayed trapped behind his teeth. Instead, he smiled, a hollow act of love. "Thank you," he said. She smiled back, gentle as always, and in that kindness, Malik felt more alone than ever. Behind her, sunlight touched the closed door to the garage. It glowed faintly, like a secret waiting to breathe. At lunch the next day, Malik sat across from Derek at a small cafe downtown. The clatter of dishes filled the pauses he couldn't. "Bro," Derek said, leaning in, "you look like you haven't slept in a week." Malik sighed. "Zahara's been different. Every night she goes to the garage, locks herself in, 2 hours, same time. I don't know what's going on." Derek's eyebrows rose. "Every night? Man, if my wife did that, I'd lose my mind." Malik forced a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe it's something," Derek said, voice lower now. "You sure you know what she's doing in there?" The question hung like smoke between them. Malik didn't answer. He didn't have one. When he got home that evening, the garage door caught his eye again, harmless in daylight, dangerous in memory. He thought of Derek's words all night. They settled deep, heavy as truth, whispering what he didn't want to believe. That night, the wind pressed against the windows. Malik lay awake, waiting. Midnight came like a ritual. Zahara rose, silent, graceful. She didn't see his eyes open. When the door closed, Malik counted to 60 and followed, each step careful, each breath thin. At the bottom of the stairs, he stopped. From behind the garage door came the faintest sound. Music. Soft, almost human. And beneath it, was she humming? He reached for the knob. It didn't turn. Locked. A pulse hammered in his ears. The air felt tight, as if the walls themselves were listening. He pressed his palm to the door, feeling the vibration of rhythm on the other side. Whatever Zahara was doing, she didn't want him to know. Malik stepped back, torn between anger and fear. The melody faded into silence, leaving only the echo of his heartbeat. In the dark, one truth settled deep in his chest. The woman he loved was living a life he couldn't enter. Malik's knuckles brushed the wood. "Zahara?" The music stopped. A soft scrape, then stillness. He waited. "Zahara, please open the door." Her voice came from the other side, thin and trembling. "Please go back to bed." "You're scaring me," he said. "Tell me what's happening." Silence stretched between them, only the hum of the fridge somewhere in the house. "I'll be up in a few minutes," she said. "No," he whispered. "Not this time." He pressed his forehead to the door. "Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone." Her breath hitched. "I know. I just can't. Not yet." Something in her tone stopped him. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. He wanted to break the lock, to see, to know. But love held him still. "Please," she said again, quieter now. "Just trust me a little longer." Malik stepped back. The door stayed shut. The sound of her footsteps faded. In that narrow hallway, under the hum of midnight, love and suspicion stood face to face. The next morning brought no answers. Zahara moved through the kitchen with tired grace. Malik watched her, remembering every word from the night before. She noticed his stare. "You don't believe me," she said softly. "I want to," he replied. "But you lock yourself away every night and you expect me to pretend it's fine?" Her lips parted, searching for words. "It's not what you think. I just need time." "How much?" 2 more weeks. Please." He looked at her for a long moment, torn between fury and faith. "Then 2 weeks. After that, no more secrets." She nodded, eyes wet but firm. "Thank you." He turned away, afraid his voice might break. They sat together, eating breakfast in silence. Every clink of the spoon felt like a countdown. 2 weeks. 14 nights. Each one holding a truth he wasn't sure he wanted to find. The sun poured through the blinds, soft and golden. Zahara hummed again while making breakfast. Malik forced a smile, watching her move with gentle rhythm as if nothing had changed. She talked about the weather, about groceries, about little things that filled the silence. Her voice tried too hard to sound normal. He nodded, answering, but his mind stayed elsewhere. Her eyes caught his once, just for a second. Behind that calm surface, something flickered. Sadness, maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion. When she reached for the sugar jar, her sleeve slipped back, revealing a faint smear of paint on her wrist. Malik noticed. She didn't. He looked away, pretending not to see. She poured his coffee, smiling like the woman he used to know. He thanked her, but his voice sounded foreign. Every small act of love felt rehearsed now. Every gesture carried a quiet question he couldn't ask. The house smelled like peace, but the air between them was full of ghosts. That afternoon, Malik's phone buzzed. His mother's voice filled the line, warm and familiar. "Baby, I wanted to thank Zahara for calling last week," she said. Malik froze. "Calling about what?" "She asked if we still had your father's old tools, the ones from his workshop. Said she might want to borrow them." He frowned. "Did she say why?" "No, but she sounded excited. Haven't heard her like that in years." After the call ended, Malik sat in silence. Tools. The garage. He thought of the paint on her wrist, the locked door, the hum of music. Pieces began to move in his mind, not quite forming a picture. Whatever Zahara was doing, it was bigger than a secret. It was something she needed to protect. From him or for him. He couldn't tell which. He leaned back in his chair, staring toward the garage window, where a faint light shimmered behind the curtains. That night, curiosity won. Malik searched the office drawers for bills Zahara had left around. Receipts scattered. Art supply stores, craft shops, hardware stores, paints, brushes, canvases, wood panels. Nothing about another man. Everything about building, creating. He sat there, surrounded by paper and confusion. Could it be that simple? Could she just be making something? He wanted to believe it. He wanted to laugh at himself for doubting. But then he remembered the way she locked the door, the fear in her voice. He placed the receipts back exactly where he found them. From upstairs came the faint sound of Zahara moving, her soft steps heading toward the garage again. Malik closed his eyes. Hope and fear wrestled in his chest. The quiet battle of a man who loved too deeply to stop wondering. He thought of confronting her but stopped himself. Maybe the truth would come soon enough. 2 days later, the doorbell rang. A delivery truck stopped in front of the house. Malik opened the door and signed for a large, heavy box. The label read Art Supply Co. He stared at it, unsure whether to smile or worry. When Zahara came downstairs, she froze for a second, then said quickly, "Oh, good, it's here." "What is it?" he asked. "Just something for my project." She tried to sound casual, but her voice wavered. Malik watched as she lifted one side of the box. "Let me help you," he said. She shook her head. "No, it's fine." He followed her to the garage door. She opened it, carried the box inside, and closed it behind her. The lock clicked again. Malik stood in the hallway, staring at that door, the same door that now hid not only her secret but also a growing distance between them. He tried to tell himself it was nothing. Maybe she was painting, maybe building something. But the thought gave no comfort. It wasn't just the mystery anymore. It was the feeling that his wife was slowly disappearing into a world that didn't include him. That evening, Malik's phone buzzed. Derek's name lit up the screen. "Man, any news about Zahara?" Malik hesitated. "Nothing yet. She's working on some kind of project." "Project?" Derek laughed. "Or maybe she's meeting someone in there." Malik forced a smile he didn't feel. "It's not like that. Bro, you don't know what it's like until you see it. People hide things, even the ones we trust." Malik stared at the floor, listening to Derek's voice fade into static. When the call ended, he set the phone down slowly. He wanted to defend her. He wanted to believe in her completely. But the seed of doubt was alive now, watered by every locked door, every soft lie. He walked to the window and looked out at the driveway. The garage light was still on, a small glow against the dark. He told himself not to watch, but he did. The clock blinked 12:01. Malik lay awake, eyes on the ceiling. He heard the quiet rustle of sheets, the faint sound of Zahara moving. She slipped from bed, careful as always. The door clicked. Silence followed. He turned onto his side, listening for the sound of the garage door below. It came, slow and deliberate. Half of him wanted to follow. The other half whispered to wait, to trust. But trust had become a fragile thing, easily cracked, hard to mend. Minutes passed, then an hour. Still, he lay there, staring into the dark. He pictured her alone in that garage, surrounded by shadows and secrets. He wondered what she was creating, or destroying. When she returned at 2, he closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. She lay beside him, her breathing calm, her hands cold. And in the quiet, he realized the hardest part of love isn't losing trust. It's pretending you still have it. The following night, Zahara didn't leave right away. She sat on the edge of the bed, her back to him. Malik whispered, "You're not going tonight?" She turned slightly. "Not yet." They sat in silence. The clock ticked between them. "Malik," she said softly, "do you remember my dream when we first met?" He frowned. "You wanted to be an artist." She nodded. "Back then, I thought life would make room for it, but it didn't. Bills, work, expectations, everything piled up." Malik reached for her hand. "You could have told me." "I didn't even know how," she said. It felt foolish to talk about dreams when we were trying to survive. He said nothing. The air between them felt fragile, filled with all the words they had never said. She stood then, quiet as always, and walked toward the door. This time, Malik didn't stop her. He finally understood. Whatever was behind that door, it belonged to a part of her he had forgotten existed. When Zahara came back that night, she didn't slip into bed right away. She stood in the doorway, watching him. "I need you to know," she said softly. "It's not about hiding. It's about not being ready." "Ready for what?" Malik asked. She hesitated. "To fail in front of you." The words hit him harder than anger ever could. "I didn't want you to see me if I wasn't good enough. I needed to find out if the dream still meant something." He sat up, the room heavy with quiet. "Zahara," he whispered, "you could never fail in my eyes." Her shoulders trembled. He crossed the space between them and pulled her close. For the first time in weeks, she let herself lean against him. "I just need a little more time," she said. He nodded, resting his chin on her hair. In that embrace, the mystery didn't vanish, but the distance softened, replaced by something fragile and real. Two people remembering how to trust again. For the first time in weeks, Malik felt her words didn't push him away. They pulled him closer. Malik held her in the dark. The storm inside him quieted for the first time in weeks. Her heartbeat pressed against his chest, small but steady. "All right," he whispered. 2 weeks. Zahara nodded against his shoulder. "Then you'll understand everything." They stayed that way, breathing together, the room lit only by the silver edge of moonlight through the blinds. He didn't ask more questions. She didn't offer more answers. Between them hung an uneasy peace, fragile but real. When she finally slipped from his arms to sleep, Malik lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The mystery still lingered, but so did love. Outside, the wind softened. The night exhaled. For the first time, he believed maybe the secret wasn't meant to destroy them. Maybe it was meant to save her. He reached for her hand beneath the sheets and found it waiting. 2 hearts, bound by patience, resting in the quiet before the storm neither could see coming. Days folded into one another. Mornings grew lighter. Zahara's laughter filled the kitchen again, soft but genuine. Malik found himself smiling without thinking. He still heard her leave at midnight, but the sound no longer stabbed him awake. He told himself this was trust, faith in progress, not proof. On weekends, they cooked together. She sang along to old records. He teased her about her off-key notes. For a while, it felt like the early years again. Malik noticed color returning to her cheeks, a spark behind her eyes. Whatever she was doing in that garage, it was giving her life again. Sometimes he caught her humming as she washed paint from her hands. He didn't mention it. He didn't need to. Love was easier when you stopped demanding explanations. But late at night, when the house grew silent, he still found himself wondering what masterpiece she was creating, and if he was part of it. The phone rang one afternoon. It was Patricia, Zahara's mother. Her voice carried the calm of someone who'd seen too much and still believed in softness. "She called me last week," Patricia said. "Asked about the old sketches she did as a girl. Do you know she used to draw from sunrise to sunset?" Malik smiled faintly. "She told me a little." "She was gifted," Patricia went on. "But when her father passed, I told her to be practical, to find something stable. I think she never forgave me for that." Malik's chest tightened. "Maybe she's forgiving herself now." There was a long pause. "Maybe," Patricia said quietly. "If she's painting again, don't let her stop." After the call, Malik sat at the table, sunlight spilling over his hands. He realized Zahara wasn't hiding from him. She was fighting her way back to herself. The garage wasn't a secret anymore. It was a resurrection. And, for the first time, Malik saw her not as a mystery, but as a woman reclaiming her right to dream. Saturday morning smelled of coffee and hope. Zahara was in the kitchen wearing his old shirt, humming off-beat. Malik laughed as he joined her. They danced between cabinets, careless and warm. For a moment, time bent backward, to when life was simple and love was new. 8 years next week, he said, brushing flour from her cheek. Her eyes glowed. "I've got a surprise for you." "Oh, yeah?" he teased. "Should I be worried?" "Maybe," she said with a grin, "but you'll like it." He watched her, memorizing that spark. Whatever waited behind that garage door, it had brought her back to him. Later that day, she spent hours outside, paint on her clothes, joy on her face. Malik watched from the porch, his chest full and quiet. That night, as they sat under the dim porch light, she reached for his hand. "Thank you for waiting." He squeezed her fingers. "I'd wait forever for this version of you." The night before their anniversary felt heavy with promise. Malik had taken the afternoon off to prepare his surprise, a wooden box filled with professional brushes, paints, and canvas. On the lid, he carved her initials by hand. Upstairs, Zahara moved quietly, finishing whatever creation she had hidden for so long. The faint hum of music floated through the floorboards. Malik placed the box on the dining table, wrapped it in gold paper, and sat back, listening. Midnight came. The garage light flickered on one last time. He imagined her standing there, hair tied back, hands stained with color, pouring herself into something beautiful. He smiled to himself. The ache of doubt had been replaced by anticipation. Tomorrow, the secrets would end. Tomorrow, love would look him in the eyes again. He turned off the lights, whispering to the quiet house, "Happy anniversary, baby." Downstairs, the faint rhythm of a brushstroke answered him, steady as a heartbeat in the dark. Morning light filled the kitchen when Zahara appeared, her hands trembling with excitement. "Close your eyes," she said. Malik obeyed, smiling. She took his hand and led him downstairs. The smell of paint and turpentine lingered in the air. "Okay," she whispered. "Now open." He opened his eyes and froze. A massive canvas filled the entire wall, their house, their memories, every color alive with feeling. The sky was deep violet, the trees silver blue. Two figures stood hand in front of the house, him and Zahara, painted not as bodies, but as light. Around them shimmered smaller scenes, first dates, laughter, long drives, quiet nights. A life captured not in detail, but in emotion. Malik's throat tightened. "Zahara." She looked at him, afraid and proud all at once. "I wanted you to see what our life feels like to me." He stepped closer, eyes wet. "It's beautiful. It's us," she whispered. And for the first time, he understood what she had been fighting for. Not secrecy, but a way to remember who they were before life got in the way. They stood before the painting, silence heavy with meaning. Malik finally spoke. "This isn't just painting, Zahara. It's your soul." She laughed softly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Maybe. I just wanted to prove to myself I could still create something real." "You did," he said. "You brought life back into this house." He turned, picked up the wrapped box from the table and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Inside was a wooden case lined with brushes, paints, and canvas rolls. Her initials carved on the lid. Zahara covered her mouth, whispering, "Malik." "You gave me this," he said, pointing to the painting. "Now it's my turn." She hugged him, paint still on her hands. "You always see the best in me." "Because that's who you are," he said. Their laughter mixed with the faint scent of turpentine and love, a reminder that art wasn't just creation, it was communion. That evening, the city lights glimmered across the river as they sat in their favorite restaurant. Candlelight danced between them. "I can't believe it's been 8 years," Zahara said. 8 years, and still you find ways to surprise me," Malik replied. She smiled. "Maybe next year I'll paint full-time." He didn't hesitate. "You should. You were born for it." Zahara looked down, shy, touched. "You really think so?" "I know so," he said, reaching for her hand. The waiter brought dessert. Chocolate, her favorite. She laughed when he stole the first bite. For the first time in months, everything felt easy again. Two souls finally breathing in rhythm. As they walked home under the warm night sky, Zahara whispered, "Thank you for waiting." Malik kissed her forehead. "Some things are worth every sleepless night." She smiled, thinking of the painting waiting at home, their story captured forever in color. 3 days later, Zahara sat on the edge of their bathtub, her hands shaking. The small plastic stick in her hand showed 2 pink lines. She stared at it for a long time, then covered her mouth as tears fell. When Malik came home, she met him in the kitchen, eyes red. "What's wrong?" he asked. She couldn't speak. She just placed the test in his hand. He blinked, confused at first, then realized, "You're pregnant?" She nodded, laughing and crying all at once. "I didn't plan it. I don't know if I'm ready." He pulled her into his arms. "Ready or not, we'll do this together." "I just found myself again," she whispered. "Now everything's changing." Malik kissed her hair. Maybe it's not changing. Maybe it's growing. They stood there in silence, the sound of the fridge humming beside them, the world suddenly wider. A week later, Zahara led Malik back to the garage. "There's something I didn't tell you," she said. She pointed to the top corner of the painting where soft clouds swirled into shapes. "Look closer." Malik squinted, then gasped. Hidden in the misty colors were 3 small figures, children holding hands between the painted versions of them. "I added them the last night," Zahara said. "Didn't even know why." He turned to her, eyes wide. "3?" She nodded. 3 felt right. 2 weeks later, at her first ultrasound, the doctor smiled at the screen. "Congratulations, you're having triplets." Malik laughed through tears. Zahara covered her face, trembling. "I painted them before I even knew," she whispered. He took her hand, voice breaking. "Maybe your heart knew before your mind did." They both laughed, crying softly in the dim room. 2 artists, 1 miracle, and 3 small lives already written into their story. But miracles, like seasons, bring their own storms. The months that followed tested everything they had. Carrying 3 babies meant constant exhaustion. Zahara's body swelled faster than she imagined. Breathing grew harder. Painting stopped. Malik worked double shifts at the construction yard, coming home covered in dust and worry. Bills piled on the kitchen counter, hospital visits, prenatal vitamins, baby supplies. At night, he massaged her swollen feet, whispering jokes just to make her smile. "We'll figure it out," he said every time. She nodded, but her eyes showed fear. Sometimes she sat in the nursery, staring at the empty cribs they couldn't yet afford. "We're supposed to be ready for them," she whispered. "We will be," he answered, though his hands shook when he paid the bills. Love became labor. Patience became prayer. Yet, through the sleepless nights and anxious mornings, Zahara's hand always found his. It was their quiet promise. We're still in this together. In the darkest weeks, when money ran thin and hope ran thinner, Malik would glance at the painting. The 3 tiny children smiled back from its corner, reminding him why every struggle mattered. The morning came too soon. Zahara woke before dawn, pain gripping her like waves. Malik grabbed the hospital bag and drove through rain and red lights. The delivery room felt endless, hours of fear, sweat, and prayers whispered into sterile air. Malik held her hand, repeating her name like a mantra. Then came the first cry, sharp, pure, alive. "It's a boy," the doctor said. Minutes later, another cry filled the room. "Another boy." Zahara sobbed, laughing through the pain. Malik kissed her forehead, whispering, "You're amazing." And then the third cry, so small, so sure. "3 boys," the nurse said softly. Malik's chest broke open with joy. He held each tiny life in his arms, their faces wrinkled, perfect. Zahara looked at him, exhausted but shining. "3," she whispered. "Just like you painted," he said. In that moment, all the late nights, fears, and silence made sense. What began as mystery had become a miracle. The house turned into a storm of bottles, diapers, and sleepless nights. 1 baby cried, then 2, then all 3. Zahara moved like a ghost between cribs, humming lullabies. Malik learned to feed 2 at once, balancing bottles with shaking hands. They were exhausted, broke, but never empty. Love filled every corner louder than the chaos. At 3 a.m., Malik rocked one baby in his arms while the others slept. He looked at the painting on the wall, glowing faintly in the nightlight. "Remember the garage?" he whispered. "It gave us all this." Zahara stirred beside him, eyes half open. "I remember." He smiled. "Next time you start locking doors, promise me it's for another miracle." She laughed softly, the sound like forgiveness. The babies sighed, the world small and warm again. For the first time in months, Malik felt peace. Messy, sleepless, beautiful peace. Weeks later, they moved the painting from the garage to the nursery wall. It hung above 3 cribs, bright against soft yellow paint. Malik stood beside Zahara, rocking one baby while the others slept. "You knew," he said quietly. She smiled, brushing a curl from her face. "No, I just painted hope." He looked at her, at their sons, at the home they had built through love and fear. The brushstrokes shimmered in the dim light. 2 glowing figures, 3 small children between them, all holding hands. "Maybe that's all faith is," Malik said, "painting hope and trusting it'll come true." Zahara nodded, her eyes soft, "and believing that love still knows the way back." They stood there a long time, surrounded by the hum of new life, the air thick with gratitude. Sometimes miracles don't announce themselves. They whisper in color. In the quiet of midnight, Zahara found her dream, and a new life waiting inside her. The garage that once held secrets now held stories. The place where doubt was born became the cradle of creation. Malik often said, "Some secrets don't hide love, they protect it until it's ready to bloom." And Zahara knew he was right. Sometimes what feels like distance is simply love searching for its voice. Sometimes the silence between 2 people is where the next chapter begins. If this story touched your heart, share it, because every woman deserves a second chance to be who she truly is. And if you believe that love, dreams, and miracles still exist, subscribe for more stories that remind you why we keep believing. The house slept. The babies breathed softly, and in the glow of the painting on the wall, life whispered one final truth. Every secret has its season, and every heart its masterpiece.